Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace, and with me today is Joe Bevan-Taylor, Head of Business Consulting for Banking and Financial Markets. And we've also got Alex Botos, Lead Product Designer for Tangity, NTT Data UK and Ireland. Hello to the both of you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's great to have you on. Now we're discussing the importance of design in delivering better customer experience and good customer outcomes, as well as the role of consumer duty within that. But first, it'd be great if you could bring us up to date and tell us how you see the consumer landscape today and what we actually mean by a good customer outcome. So, Joe, we'll start with you.
Sure. So Consumer Duty came into effect this year. And what that means is that banks and financial institutions really need to focus on what customers need, what they want. The FCA have defined a little bit what they mean by a good customer outcome. So they've asked that banks focus on fair value for products, that customers can understand communications, that customers get the right product for them, and that they can access support as and when they need it. But the thing about outcomes is you can't define them at the high level. It really needs to come from the bank themselves based on specific customer needs. So all banks and financial institutions really need to understand their customers, because then that will enable them to tailor the outcomes that they need to drive for their specific customer segments. Here at NTT, we actually did some research where we found that about 50% of consumers don't have trust in their bank. And that's a real problem, even with this regulation coming in. And we did that research after the regulation. It means that there's still quite a long way to go for banks to truly show that they're delivering those good outcomes and that the customers understand that they are getting an outcome from their financial institution.
All right, that's really interesting. Some significant findings there. So I want to home in now on the role of design. Alex, we'll come to you. Tell us, what do you mean by design first, and a good design, and what makes it good as well?
Right. Well, design to us at NTT is perhaps a combination of a few different elements, a few different teams. Well, of course, we do have our design team, a global network of designers called Tangity, and that's where I'm sitting, as I'm a UX designer at heart. There, what we're doing is perhaps focusing a bit more on the desirability of the product that we tend to deliver. So that means focusing on the user's needs, the problems, diving deep into the problems a little bit, and delivering solutions that are validated by the users. I mean, what we found is that design alone cannot really change the world. So we do need the technology to back that up. So that's where perhaps our CX team comes in, where we have prepackaged solutions that we can take and plug in for to serve that customer for that particular design. So just to give an example, if we want to design a product that has generative AI in it, then we can take that packaged solution and configure it to the user, and we don't need to, make it up on the spot. It's all available within our offering. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing that I think is really important for good design is to cover the business viability part of things. So business design and business consulting is really important for us to really just put the right people at the table, providing us with that subject matter expertise that helps with the viability of that product. So the combination of those three things, to me, makes a good design, a good product that is almost guaranteed to be successful and is a grounds for innovation. But when you say what good design is through the lens of consumer duty, what we find is that it usually starts with a really strong foundation. So we have a few set principles that we live by when it comes to designing for fintech. And I think the first thing that we look at is that foundation is essentially understanding where customers are in their lifetime. So what are the circumstances that they're in? Are they in some sort of a vulnerable position or not? Do we need to provide the certain type of care for them that is specific to their needs? And it starts with essentially showing them or helping them make the right choices. And by making right choices, we can talk about perhaps onboarding journeys or needs analysis to choose the right product for them. And we see that on the market pretty much figured out already. There are beautiful onboarding journeys with great needs analysis. But what happens then? What happens after the user is onboarded? I have my credit card, I have my loan. There's a bit of a void there that I think we need to fill. And that void we can fill by understanding, using data or looking at their behaviors and trying to give them relevant insights compared to their situation. So we need to understand what their goals are, where do they want to get to? Are they trying to make a big purchase or getting ready to get a mortgage? Are they saving up for retirement or do they want to invest? What is their goal and how can we support them in a relevant basis based on, instead of just throwing all sorts of offers at them, we make it a borderline white glove experience. And we can do that with data. So I think that's very important. And then the other thing is, I think it's quite valuable for customers to see a big picture of their finances. And we can do that with account aggregation and budgeting and categorization and stuff like that. There are a lot of low-hanging fruits there that we can provide. But essentially, what happens then is customers start to realize that, oh, okay, so the bank is looking out for me. So it builds trust, it builds relevancy, and it builds engagement, which in turn leads to the bank, or opens the door for the banks to become the bank for life for those customers.
All right, thanks, Alex. And Joe, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, I think for us at NTT, design and the importance of design, it's so high on our agenda. As we've been doing research and looking out at the industry, we found some really surprising stats. So, for example, 75% of adults in the UK wouldn't pass a money basics test. That's a really shocking statistic. So when we've thought about how can we solve that, we've looked to design as a discipline to do that. We're looking at how we can work with clients on their customer journeys to build in financial literacy in a really organic way through those journeys, through the products, rather than doing it through formal learning. And that will be a really, really powerful way to drive literacy from the bottom up.
That's really interesting. As you say, a significant statistic there. So let's come back to design then, Alex. Do you think that the importance of good design is being acknowledged enough in the industry?
There definitely is a shift towards the value of design. I mean, on the market today, we do see that it's quite easy to see that those companies who invest in their experiences, because the experience as a product itself, they retain customers by a considerable more margin, and they're a lot more profitable. So that's something that everyone really knows at this point. But I think there are a couple of misconceptions out there, a couple of fears maybe. One of the biggest ones perhaps is that banks think or companies think that good design is very expensive and it takes a lot of time and effort and resource to do. That is not true at all. I mean, from my personal experience, the most successful projects that I've been involved with have been all pretty short projects that lasted about maybe a month and sometimes a week or 2 weeks. And they had the most impact. So I think that's a misconception. What UX designers and UX design teams are really good at doing is using design thinking philosophy to really focus their decision making, focus their efforts on a certain particular problem. And it doesn't have to be a full project. It can be like a proof of concept or perhaps an MVP or just like a discovery project where so like a SWAT team of designers go in and they sort of map out the landscape and they come up with certain solutions and the right challenges to tackle for the company. So it gives a bit of a roadmap for them, really.
Some really interesting insights and also examples there, which leads me to my final question. Taking all of that into account then, what do you think should be front of mind for the banks and the financial service providers going forward, and how can they achieve better customer experience and also the outcome? So Joe, we'll come to you.
So I think Alex has really touched on it there, that it's really tempting for banks to just jump to a solution or be taken in by a new innovative technology without really addressing what their problems are and without really understanding their customer needs. So from our side, and where we really need to see the industry going, is centering the customer, and by to be able to do that, you need to understand your customers. So you need to do all of this work to understand who they are, what they need, what they want. And then you need to do that work to be transparent on what your return on investment is, to influence senior leadership. I think we've seen examples of jumping to solutions costing 10 times more than if you just invested in design and design thinking up front. So from our side, to truly understand the customer is where you will get the fallout of the good brand, the profits, the driving that financial well-being into your customers. The more you do this, the better you will perform and the better the outcomes for your customers you will achieve. And that's win-win for everyone. So that's really what we're focusing on at the moment, is trying to influence the leadership within banks to look at design as an investment rather than as a burden, because that is where you will get the win for everyone.
So it's the customer that's front of mind, and as you say, that's where NTT Data comes in. Some very sound advice to end on there. Alex, Joe, thank you so much for your time today. Looking forward to catching up further down the line. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.